Okay, so this tutorial is going to be a family tutorial, and this is going to be on doing formulas and things like that in Revit. In particular, the one formula that we're going to look at is this array family here, and that's basically this guy here. And the way this thing works is when I go to Edit Type, and oops, sorry. All right, let's see. Let's see. So when I go to Edit Type, and I change the width of the table, I'm going to say 8 feet, and apply. Then when I change the width of the table, you'll notice then it extends the table and then also adds multiple chairs. And so I can extend it out to, say, 20 feet or something like that. And then it keeps on adding tables. And then I can take it all the way back down to, let's say, 3 feet. And it goes down to just 2 chairs and 1 single base. All right, so to do that, basically what this thing looks like in the family editor. So let me go back here. All right, so this is what this thing kind of pretty much looks like in the family editor here. So it's got a bunch of stuff in there. And in particular, to get it to do all that extending and adding those chairs and all that kind of stuff, we have a formula. So this is what 4 blue squares basically looks like. So you have, I have my basic width, height parameter, chair offset to and depth parameters, and then over here I have formulas based on this, or created within this family, and these are the families that control all that kind of stuff there. So I'm going to kind of start with kind of a basic, I guess, description of what formulas are and how you can use them, and then what we're going to do is then show how we would create this array formula here that shows how to extend those families. All right, so I'm going to close this one, and let me close this, and I'm going to start with one of my table without nests. There you go. All right, so I'm going to start with this one here. So this is basically just a real simplified version of that table and chairs. All it is basically I've got a material parameter for the tabletop and the table leg, and then I also have a width, height, and depth parameter, and then I have an on and off parameter for my chairs. So I just turn it on and off. All right, so that's what we're going to basically start with. All right, so to do that, to get that when you extend the chairs, I can change the width of this table. All right, so I'll go to 8 feet. And I say OK, and it extends the width of the table, and then it also pushes these chairs out here. What it's not doing then is adding multiple chairs onto there. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an array. All right, so our simple, kind of our basic array command in Revit, and then I'm going to attach a parameter to that array. So essentially, how the array command works is I'm going to pick this chair here, and I go to the array, and I can say. I can say, well, how many? I have either a second or to move to the last, and basically what it does is I set a chair here, and I basically say how many chairs do I want, and then I just decide how far apart I want those chairs, and it does an array for that. So the first thing what we want to do is we want to kind of figure out, well, okay, I'm going to do an array. How far apart do I want each of these chairs? And so I've found that about 2 feet between center to center on these chairs is about a pretty good spacing. So you can use whatever you want. You can use it a little bit more, but 2 foot is a nice number. It's also a nice even number. So when we're doing our formula, it's a little bit easier to set up. So what I'm going to do is, first thing I want to do is I want to unlock these chairs from that reference plane there. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an array. All right, and if I'm going to do this array, I'm going to basically create a formula for that array. And what that array is going to do is, well, let me actually do the array first. So let me do a real quick array, and I'll just kind of show you how this is going to go. All right. So I'm going to put my chair here, and then I'm going to put my last chair here, and then it's going to basically figure out how many chairs do I want in between there. All right. So I'm going to say, let's say 3 chairs. All right, so I move this chair, and I move this to last, and I make sure I have group and associate on. And I slide that over to there. And so that's basically it put in 3 chairs. Now, if I want to make this a parameter, what I do is I select the chair, and I'm looking for this little line here, and it's got the quantity. This is the quantity of chairs. And I can add a higher quantity. I could say 4. It's basically how many chairs do you want. All right, so I can pick this line here, and then I can change that into a parameter. So I go there, I say add parameter, and I'm going to call this number of chairs. All right, so that's my number of chairs, and I'm going to group this. So let's say we're just going to group it under other. That'll be fine. I'm going to say OK. All right, so now I have a parameter here. All right, and it's called number of chairs, and I can change that back to 3, and I'm going to say OK. So 3. All right, so what I want to do though is I want to get a spacing of 2 feet. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the width, and I'm going to divide it by the number of chairs. So if I've got a width of 8 feet and I want 2 feet in between them, I want 4 chairs. All right, so if I have a, all right, so my width between here and here, let's see, is approximately 6 feet. If I want my chairs 2 feet apart, I'm going to say 3. All right, so which is currently what my quantity is. And so I've got approximately, well, a little more than that, between the two. Okay, so that's kind of the basic idea of how my formula is going to work. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically take the width, divide it by 2 feet, and that's going to give me the number of chairs that I'm going to need so that they're spaced out every 2 feet. However, you'll notice here that the width basically goes from the edge of table to the edge of table. Now, I don't want the center of my chair on the edge of that table. I want my chair kind of inset like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another parameter called chair offset. So I'm going to go to reference plane. I'm going to put a reference plane here. And I'm going to put a reference plane here. And I want my chair to be offset about a foot. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a dimension from make sure you're doing reference plane to reference plane. All right, and I'm going to say that's going to be a foot. That's going to be my chair offset. And that's going to be a foot. So I want to put a dimension there from reference plane to reference plane. All right, and that's going to be a foot. All right, so let's make that a parameter. All right, so I select the dimension string, and then I go add parameter, and we'll call that chair offset. All right, that way I can change it if I think a foot isn't enough or is too much. I think I could. I think I could select both of those dimension strings and do it at the same time. I'm pretty sure you can. I'm not sure, but okay. So here's our chair offset of 1 foot and 1 foot over there. All right, and then what I want to do is I want to lock these 2 chairs here to those reference planes. All right, and lock that to there. All right, reference plane there. Lock that one to there, and lock. All right, so now whenever I change my width, it's going to spread those chairs out. So I go to change my width to, say, 12 feet. All right, so then it takes those chairs and it spreads them apart because I have 3 chairs. Number of chairs is 3. So if I change it to 6, what it does is then it, when I change it to 6 and I hit apply, it basically spaces out 6 chairs evenly between the 2 end chairs, the chair over here and the chair over here. All right, so what I'm going to do now is going to set up my formula. But I actually want to do a little backtracking here to just kind of start with the basics of the formula. So let me delete out all these chairs here. I'm going to leave this last one. I'm going to remove constraints on that one, and I'm going to ungroup it. All right, so now I got a basic standard chair, and I got a basic standard chair over there, removing constraints. All right, so the way formulas basically work here is you're going to write basically over in this column here, there. Okay, so for example, I could write a very simple formula. If I want my table to remain square all the time, I can say the width should always equal the depth. So I can say width, and I just type in depth over here. That's my formula. So what it's basically saying is the width equals the depth, and what it's referring to is the depth parameter here. So because it's referring to that depth parameter, I have to spell it exactly the same. So capital D-E-P-T-H. All right, so if I hit apply, and that basically makes this chair square. So no matter what I change that width, change it to 5 feet, it changes the depth as well. So that's just kind of a basic formula that you can use on the project. All right, so on this one, let's just get rid of that formula. All right, so that's kind of your basic idea behind these formulas here. Let's see. So what we're going to do then is we're going to start out with a real simple formula of number of chairs is width divided by 2 feet. All right, so width and then divided by is just a forward slash here, and I'm going to say 2 feet. All right, so width divided by 2 feet. So if our chair is, if our width is 5 feet, it divides it by 2. It says it's 3 feet because it's rounding up. All right, so we're going to just start with that. That's our real simple formula. Let me spread this thing out, though, a little bit to, let's say, 6 feet. Actually, let's go a little further than that. Let's go to 8 feet. That'll work. And I'm going to change the depth to 3 feet. All right, so there we go. And then what I want to do then is I want to lock my chairs to these two lock these chairs on this side to that reference plane going horizontally and that reference plane going vertically. So I'm going to do that with the align command. Align and lock. There, align and lock. All right, lock them together. Do the same thing on this side. Okay. All right, so now I'm ready to do my array command, my array parameter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both these two chairs. I'm going to the array command, and I'm going to say number. This really doesn't matter, but I'll say 3. You can pick any number you want. Make sure that you're going to the last, because basically you set the first point, and you set the last point, and it basically divides the chairs between the two. So I can say last. All right, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm actually going to stop just short of that reference plane. I don't want to actually hit that reference plane. All right, so there it is. There's my array. And the reason I stopped a little bit short is because I want to use the align command to make sure that I've got that chair locked to that reference plane. So I lock it and do the same thing with that guy. So I'm locking it. Okay, so let's test this thing out. All right, let's change this back to 4 feet. Apply. Oops, apply. Sorry, apply. Yeah, there you go. All right, so it shrinks it. Let's go up to 10 feet. Okay, good. So that's what we're doing basically there, is just testing it out so that we know that these chairs are spacing, these in chairs, the first and last ones I have, are locked to the reference point. It's maintaining that number of chairs, and then it's dividing it by the width divided by 2. Okay, so far it's working according to how we want. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop now, and I'm going to go to we're going to go to part 2, and in part 2 then I'll kind of finish creating that formula.